Head over to miniaturemarket.com where they have thousands of board games at discounted prices, and you can sign up for product alerts. Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today we're going back to a planet we've been to before. We're going to be colonizing it. Today we're taking a look at Alien Frontiers X, which is the new version of Alien Frontiers that was just announced today that this video launched. They are announcing this, and you can go play it at their booth at PAX East right now. That's Tabletop Tycoon, but it's also done by Starling Games. So let me show you what this new edition has, and I'll see you on the other side. In Alien Frontiers, each player is going to get a whole stack of these different colonies per player and a bunch of dice of their own color. Those are going to be your ships that you're going to use for workers. In this version, everyone's going to get factions, which was originally part of the expansion. It's going to give you a special ability for the game. All of these are very different and very cool. And here's what those colonies look like up close. You're trying to have the most points at the end of the game, and let's talk about how you do that. Now here's the board of Alien Frontiers towards the end of the game. And you'll notice lots of colonies here. On your turn, when you're able to place a colony on there, you'll get a point. If you also have the most there, you have control and you get another point. So I have 2 of them here. Green has 2 here, so they had gotten an extra point for getting in this colony. But if instead of placing here, I placed here, then green would actually lose that extra point because they don't control it now. Also, each of the ones that are not controlled have a special ability. This one would come back now because nobody has control of it. But if, let's say someone went there again, like red, now that they have control, they get a point for this. They get a second point, that could fluctuate, of course, for having the most control, and they'll take this, and this gives them a special ability for the action that's closest to this part of the planet. Now, there's other ways to get points. I'll show you that in just a moment, but you're going to roll your ships, or your dice, and then you're going to place them. There's all sorts of different things you could do, like placing one here and moving your colony, and for every dice you put here over multiple turns, once you get to the end, then you can place this out on the planet. It's one way to get the colonies out. Or here you need 3 equal dice. So if I had the 3 5s, I could put it here, spend 3 ore, and then put a colony out. The third way to get a colony out is to go here. Now, this is a terraforming station. You got to pay a solar and an ore, and then you get another colony. However, at the beginning of the next round, you're going to take all the dice that you've placed and take them back. So what that means is your dice are blocking spots for other players. However, when you take this one out, you actually lose it for good for now. Because later on, you can put equal dice here to get that die or any other dice you have off the board in your shipyard there. Of course, you're going to have to spend resources depending on if it's your 4th, 5th, or 6th die or ship, if you will. Players will be placing dice here, and depending on what they place, they'll get a certain amount of solar energy. You might be placing the lunar mine to get some ore. Now, let's say they put a 2, and then they put a 6. They got 2 ore, 1 for each die. The next player always has to play equal or higher, so they have to play at least a 6 here to get this ore until the blue player starts their turn and takes their dice off there. Rare's Outpost needs 3 numbers in a row, like a straight, and you get to steal any 4 resources from any player or 1 alien tech card. It's a pretty mean take that style mechanism. Now, the alien artifact, when you place them here, if you put dice equal to 8 or more, you get an alien tech card. Now, these cards help you break the rules of the game. There's 3 of them out there. You can also spend dice to wipe and get new ones. But like this one, pay solar to flip one of your dice out and place ships. Or you can discard the card to do a powerful ability. Most of them have that sort of thing going on. Or you could, hey, after rolling, you get a certain resource depending if you have more even or odd dice. Or you could discard to gain 2 ore, but if you have 2 of these data cores, you discard both and building a ship at no cost. So you can see there's all sorts of weird ways, and there's tons of these cards, and this version, it appears to have pretty much every alien tech card they've come out with in the past through all little mini expansions. The orbital market allows you to basically trade solar for ore, but you can also take the new agenda cards. Usually you'll take 2 of them, you can never have more than 3. Now these are interesting because they either have an in-game objective, like when you gain 12 or more solar in a single turn, you basically flip this over and you get a point. But everyone else knows that you've gotten a point, and if you're in the lead, they're going to try to hit you. So you might try to just get this end-game objective done, like if you control a territory with 3 field generators on it. Well, if you do this, and you have that done at the end of the game, when you flip this over, you'll get a point that was secret to everybody, but it's a little bit of pressure luck, because you might have this, and then towards the end of the game, it might get taken away from you, then you won't have it. So lots of different ways to get turns, like if you move into a colony that has an unclaimed territory, and so on and so forth. This is a really interesting aspect of the game. Now off to the side is the Outer Belt expansion board, and there's these different kind of cards come up. It's also a spot that you can go to gain points and a special ability. And when placing dice here, you have to place, in this case, 2 of these. So a 3, 4, 5, 2 of them here. And there's all different requirements. Like this one just says one of those things, like a 2, 3, or 4. Some of them have actually special dice, normal dice that you have to place, addition to wherever they are in the slot. So you might see a card that you want, and over the course of the game, it's going to slide down. And so you have to sort of time it to get the card you want. And these just give you either ongoing abilities or one-time use. Like this one says, discard this card to receive 2 solar and 1. So it just gives you another way to spend dice if you're kind of stuck, but it still gives you some cool things to do once you get those. Now, there are a ton of factions that come in the game. Each player gets one at the beginning of the game, and it gives you an asymmetric ability. Like this one here, when players go to the terraforming station to get their new ship, the one that usually that ship explodes, they get to, if they want, they can place another die and then roll that, and if it's 4, 5, or 6, they don't lose that original ship. Pretty cool, but I get all the resources that they spent for that spot. So these just give you all sorts of different ways to make yourself different from everybody else, and there are a ton of these. It really adds a lot of flavor to the game. And lastly, let's look at some of these abilities now that they'll make more sense. Like this is tied to this action down here, which is moving the colonies, and essentially you have to move yourself one more than the number of dice there. Or on this one, this has to do with the lunar mine, and the ship that you dock there can be any value as opposed to always having to be greater. So basically they just give you one of the actions that's closest to it, you're gonna get a better benefit. So the game ends when a player places their last colony, and then players will flip up any of their agenda cards, because they may have some secret points there, and then whoever has the most points at the end is the winner.
Now, before I get into my final thoughts, I just wanted to tell you about how you can protect yourself and your family online with Aura, who is sponsoring these final thoughts. Now, there's a lot of different ways to protect yourself online, but Aura brings all of these to you in one place. They feature a virtual private network known as a VPN, a password manager, real-time credit and identity theft monitoring, internet parental controls, and protects your devices from malware. And you can try a 2-week free trial to take advantage of all those services, as well as seeing how many data brokers are selling your personal information online and that they'll resolve on your behalf. And you can do this by scanning the QR code right here on the screen, or by going to aura.com/GameBoyGeek, and Aura is A-U-R-A.
All right, quick history on Alien Frontiers. Came out in 2010, and I was just starting to get back into board games heavy then. I was, obviously played all my life growing up, and then in college I got a little too busy, and I started getting back into it. Alien Frontiers was like the game that started the whole Kickstarter craze, and it was first edition was sold out, so I way overspent on the secondary market for a game that was out of print at the time. And then over the course of the years, I had bought more of the upgrade packs and the faction packs and the little, tech card packs and the agenda packs and all that sort of stuff. So that's sort of my history with Alien Frontiers. Now this game, I don't think it was maybe the first to do the dice as worker placement, but it definitely is one that helped make it very popular. And it still works well today. I mean, you're rolling your dice. There's certain cards that will allow you to manipulate those dice, and then you're placing them as workers. And certain spots, are better with high dice. Some of them you need equal dice. Some of them you need a run of the three numbers in a row. Some of them it doesn't matter. And it really works because sometimes you need a certain number and sometimes it doesn't really matter which one you use. And that kind of like mitigates the luck factor as well. And so there's still people playing, making dice worker placement games. And this is one that helped sort of, pave the area for that. Still works well today, 13 years later. The Alien tech cards is what makes this have a lot of flavor to it. Now, I'll talk a little bit about some of the negative things of these tech cards a little later. But in general, they give you really cool powers that anybody can go and race there and get. Like manipulating your dice, flipping your die over, or getting a resource whether you have more even or odd dice, or placing a field generator that allows you to place it in between 2 adjacent spots, and maybe it's getting you an extra point on each of those, or maybe it's making it so no one can actually go in there, right? Stuff like that. So I like that. The Alien tech cards are really cool. I like the fluctuating points. Settlers of Catan made this popular with the longest road, where somebody might have a point, and then somebody else gets the longest road, takes that from them. That player loses a point. The player that gets it has a point. This works well here as well, as if you're in the lead and you control a specific area, you're going to get the extra point for now. But if you're in the lead, you're going to get picked on in this game. It's just the way it is. So if you don't like that aspect, this has that for sure. I like that each of the abilities, if you control it, each of those have a sort of, each area has an ability, and it's usually tied to the action that's closest to it. Like in the overview I showed you, hey, you get to move 1 extra space on the colony track, or you get to spend 1 less ore. And you're kind of like doing that, and it helps you focus on certain actions in that area. It works really well. The agendas, I love these. This is one of my favorite, definitely my favorite expansion aspect of it, is those ones where you're like, do I do this now and flip it over and get a point, and now I have a target on my back if I'm winning?
Or do I try to do the end game goal secretly and I can get this point at the end of the game and maybe people aren't going to attack me, I can kind of sneak up at the end. However, by the end of the game, you fulfill that now, but you might not fulfill it at the end. And it's a press your luck aspect. You got to make sure you keep that condition there. People might just mess with it just because. They don't know that you're going for that. I like that. Do I get the thing I know I can get now and take the point, put a target on my back, or try to press my luck and get this at the end of the game? It's brilliant. I love it. It works really well. The Outer Belt expansion, it's not going to totally change the game, but it does give you areas, more things to think about, more places to go to get other cool sort of little abilities when you have dice that you don't know what to do with. So, I mean, I'd probably play with it all the time. It's not that. It has a little bit of upkeep, but it still adds more than it takes away. The faction abilities, I love these. Everyone's going to have a different faction. You can play with different ones every game. There's a ton of them in there. Like I said, I had bought all the little faction packs originally, but they all come in this one. And speaking of those alien tech cards, I think I went through all my little packs that I had bought. It looks like Alien Frontiers X has pretty much all of the cards that ever came out for this, which is cool. Same with the factions. And those factions are cool. You've got a cool thing that you can do and no one else can do. That's always good in the game, the asymmetry. So 13 years later, I think this Alien Frontiers still holds up pretty well, which can't be said for many games that came out in 2010. So what did I not like about it? Well, the cards, the small text on the Alien Tech cards is a problem. Maybe just because I'm getting older, there's some cards that there's not that much text, but it's still tiny. I would have liked to have seen them blow the text up as much as possible on every single one of those cards. Sure, different cards would have different size fonts, but at least some of them you could see from across the table. Here you can just see like the bold name and that's it. I almost wish there was a little book, like a player aid book, because you can see the tech card and you can flip through and see what it does without having to be like, what does that say? Or getting up and looking at it or asking to have it given to you. It's a minor quibble here. Usually what happens is when someone takes out a tech card, they'll just read what it does. But again, when you're strategizing, you kind of need to know what all three of them do at once. It's a little nitpick there. The scoreboard, I like that they added the little sinusoidal functions, but like around the 1 or 2 level, there's like almost like 2 of them and it's not quite always obvious. Are you on 1 or 2, you know? Now you can always kind of go back and look at the board and the state of the game and usually you can tell where you're supposed to be, but I don't know. Cool touch, not quite as functional as I had hoped towards the bottom. The biggest problem, I think, and the biggest thing that seems aged to me in this game, and pretty much the only thing, is the amount of downtime. Towards the end of the game, if you're playing with 4 players. You know, if every player has 5 or 6 ships out, you're gonna be waiting for 3 other players to do their things. It's good until the end. They're trying to min-max, get everything down, pull people down on points, go up in points. Noticeable downtime. And, you know, like recently I just played Earth, the hotness, and it's like every player is doing something on everyone's turn, and it's very modern feeling. This part is the only thing that really made me feel like Alien Frontiers felt a little aged. But I would not recommend the game because the downtime is less and less with 2 or 3 players. And once all the players, you know, if they've all played before, it won't be quite as long. So my favorite player counts are definitely 2 and 3. I don't think I would turn down a 4-player game, but I'd want to make sure everyone in a 4-player game has already played before because it's definitely noticeable. But that's it. This thing holds up pretty well for being 13 years old. That's saying a lot. And again, Alien Frontiers X, is at PAX East right now at the Starling Games booth. It might be called Tabletop Tycoon because that's like an imprint of that brand. So check it out if you're there at PAX. This has been the Game Boy Geek, breaking down barriers, growing relationships with board games, and helping you buy the next one you'll love. Game Toppers not only transforms your existing table into a high-quality gaming solution, but they now offer full leg kits and dining cover solutions for the full table application. Paired with over 20 styles of thematic game mats in 11 different sizes from notable board game artists like Vincent Dutray, collapsible cup holders, and real cool accessories, experience what thousands of other gamers enjoy by upgrading every game you play with a Game Topper system. Save hundreds of dollars on Game Topper package deals that are in stock now for immediate shipping at GameToppersLLC.com or click the link below.